In the small town of Jamani, where dusty streets and modest homes told stories of struggle and survival, lived a boy named Juma. Juma was no ordinary boy. While his peers played football or tended to household chores, Juma danced. His feet, as light as air, moved to rhythms no one else could hear. Every evening after his duties were done, he would practice in the town square, his worn-out shoes gliding across the dirt with a grace that defied his surroundings. But there was no room for dreams in a place like Jamani, and Juma's father often warned him to stop wasting time on useless fantasies. Despite his father's discouragement, Juma couldn't let go of his passion. Dancing was his escape from the weight of poverty and the harshness of his reality. It was the one thing that made him feel alive. He imagined himself performing on grand stages, far away from the limitations of his life in Jamani. But every morning, the world reminded him that dreams like his rarely came true for boys like him. In a part of town that Juma had never dared to visit, there lived a girl named Amani. Amani was the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in Jamani. Her father, Mr. Kibo, was a successful businessman who believed in tradition and status. Amani, however, was a free spirit, often rebelling against her parents' strict expectations. She had an eye for beauty and art, and more than anything, she loved dance. But her parents would never allow her to pursue such a lowly interest. One day, as fate would have it, Amani happened to pass by the town square while Juma was practicing. She was immediately captivated by his skill, watching in awe as he moved with such passion and grace. She had never seen anyone dance like that before. Without thinking, she approached him after his practice, her heart pounding with excitement. Juma was startled when Amani introduced herself, and even more surprised when she complimented his dancing. No one had ever taken his passion seriously, and here was this rich girl praising him like he was something special. They talked for hours that evening, finding common ground in their love for dance. For the first time, Juma felt seen. Their friendship grew quickly. Every day after his practice, Amani would meet Juma in secret, offering him tips and encouragement. She believed in his dream, and her support filled him with a new sense of determination. Slowly, their bond began to deepen into something more than friendship. But they both knew that their growing affection for each other would not be accepted by their families. As Juma's feelings for Amani intensified, so did the obstacles they faced. Amani's parents began to notice her frequent absences and questioned her about where she spent her time. Amani lied, knowing they would never approve of her spending time with someone like Juma. Her father had plans for her future, plans that didn't involve a poor boy from the other side of town. One evening, Juma told Amani about a dance competition that was being held in the city. It was a chance for him to escape Jamani and showcase his talent to the world. But the competition required an entry fee, something Juma couldn't afford. Amani didn't hesitate, she offered to pay the fee, much to Juma's surprise. Though he was grateful, he felt uneasy accepting her help. He didn't want to be seen as someone who needed charity, especially from the girl he was beginning to love. The day of the competition arrived, and Amani was there to support Juma, standing in the crowd with her heart in her throat. Juma danced with everything he had, his body moving with a passion that mesmerized the audience. It was the first time he felt like he belonged on a stage. The judges were impressed, but despite his stunning performance, Juma didn't win. Though he was disappointed, Juma was more determined than ever to pursue his dreams. He realized that he couldn't let one setback stop him. Amani, too, was proud of him, and her unwavering support only strengthened their bond. They both knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges, but they were ready to face them together. Juma's father, however, was growing increasingly frustrated with his son's obsession with dance. He couldn't understand why Juma would waste his time on something that would never bring money or stability. One evening, after a heated argument, Juma's father gave him an ultimatum: give up dancing or leave the house. Heartbroken but resolute, Juma packed his belongings and left. Amani, upon hearing what had happened, insisted that Juma stay in one of the small guest houses on her family's property. Juma was reluctant at first, knowing the risk they were taking. But with nowhere else to go, he agreed. Amani kept Juma's presence a secret from her parents, sneaking out each day to bring him food and encouragement. As days turned into weeks, Juma found work at a local market, earning just enough to survive while continuing to practice his dance in secret. Amani, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure from her parents, who had arranged a meeting with the son of a wealthy family, hoping to match her in marriage. Amani was horrified at the thought of marrying someone she didn't love. especially now that her heart belonged to Juma. The tension between Amani and her parents came to a head one evening when they announced that the engagement with the wealthy suitor would be finalized in a matter of weeks. Amani couldn't believe what she was hearing. She tried to explain her feelings to her parents, but they dismissed her protests, insisting that this was the best decision for her future. Desperate and with no one to turn to, Amani confided in Juma, who was equally devastated. He knew he couldn't compete with the wealth and status of the man Amani was being forced to marry. But they both refused to accept that this was how their story would end. Together, they began to formulate a plan to escape Germany and build a life where they could follow their passions without the constraints of tradition and social status. Their plan was risky, but they were determined. Under the cover of night, Amani and Juma left Germany, heading for the city with nothing but their love for each other and a shared dream. The road ahead was uncertain, but they believed that as long as they had each other, they could overcome anything. In the city, life was harder than they had imagined. Finding a place to stay and work was a challenge, and the realities of urban life quickly set in. But they remained hopeful. Juma continued to practice his dancing wherever he could, performing on street corners and at small events to earn money. Amani, though unfamiliar with this new world, took on odd jobs to support them. Though their love remained strong, the pressures of their new life began to take a toll on both Juma and Amani. They often found themselves exhausted and discouraged, wondering if they had made a mistake in leaving everything behind. But they refused to give up on their dreams. After several months of struggle, Juma caught the attention of a talent scout who happened to see him perform at a street festival. The scout was impressed by his raw talent and offered him an opportunity to audition for a professional dance company. It was the break Juma had been waiting for, and he couldn't believe his luck. The audition was nerve-wracking, but Juma's passion and talent shone through. After what felt like an eternity, he was offered a spot in the dance company, a dream come true. Amani was overjoyed for him, knowing that this was the opportunity they had both been working toward. Juma's success brought a new set of challenges, as he now had to balance his growing career with his relationship with Amani. The demands of rehearsals and performances kept him busy, and he often found himself torn between his love for dance and his love for Amani.